Happy Sunday, everybody. Happy Sunday. I hope you're having a great day. And he's got the music so loud. So loud, Eddie. The music is loud. Good to see everybody. We're going to be talking about Zillow. Zillow has gotten themselves into another lawsuit. Another one. We're going to be talking about all about that. We're also going to be talking about a lawsuit against an over 55 community, something that we were talking about a little bit yesterday. So today is a lawsuit day. And then I'm going to be showing you what happens to real estate agents when they get themselves in trouble, because they don't always go to like a court hearing, but there is some kind of hearing. And one of these stories I would think you'll find super interesting. Eddie, your mic is on. Sorry, you can hear Eddie in the background. You could hear his little mic going off there. So let me put on my glasses to welcome people into the live stream, because I know there's been some people waiting here. Eric the Blue, welcome to see you. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We had a question. Cat C, welcome. Golden Eagle, welcome. Midnight Wolf, welcome, welcome. Lady N, Caged Monkey, love the screen name. Pardeep Jindal, welcome. Eric the Blue again. Debbie Brady, Future Shaper is in the house. Moderation to the nation here. I was trying to make a rhyme. King in the City, the first hoe, right? Lawnmower, commentologist. Kenneth Anderson. All right. All right. Oh, the luxury bucket list. Love that. Hi, Kelly. Hello, Lori. How are you? How are you? How are you? It's so good to see you guys. All right. So let's go ahead and show what's going on with the Zillow website, the Zillow lawsuit. And in the meantime, we got a question that came in on YouTube, and it says, question, what is the best service for a website to shop for land? Land.com. That is land.com. Now, let me ask you this. There is land out there, though, that is auction land, people that buy them at auctions. So you want to check some of those auction sites, because you can get some good deals on land through some auction sites. But this is where I go if I'm looking for land outside of my regular MLS. Land.com is a good, reputable website for land. I will tell you this. If you start looking at places like, you see them sometimes on Craigslist or Facebook, people will list their personal piece of land for sale. But I really want you to get title search done before you ever pay anybody anything, because a lot of times there's been a lot of scam listings out there, and people will make up paperwork that looks very official. This happened to a subscriber to this channel a long, long time ago. This was during the pandemic, and she found herself a piece of land that she had gotten from a website, and the whole transaction was done via computer, which she didn't have a problem with, because it was it was pandemic. Here's the thing, is that when they sent her the title work, they sent her over with a notary. So everything felt very official. So she got notarized paperwork. She thought everything was good. And then she had ordered herself a manufactured home to go onto this piece of land. The manufactured home company said, that's fine. We're going to go ahead and put it on your piece of land. The manufactured home is coming down the dirt road. She had already done work on this piece of land. And then suddenly this man comes out, and he says, what are you doing? And she said, I'm having my home delivered. And he was like, that's not your land. That doesn't belong to you. And she had to stop everything. She goes ahead and pulls up the paperwork, and he's like, that's my piece of land. That paperwork is fraudulent. And she had given these people $36,000 in cash. So be very careful when you're dealing with anything that has to do with land. And I know as many people don't like real estate agents, the thing is they can't list property that doesn't exist, and they can't list property that doesn't belong to a specific owner. We check all those things before we let anybody sign a listing agreement. So just be aware of that. There are scammers out there, especially on the internet. When you think you're going to do something simply, there's no simple about it, So I just wanted to put that out there. So let's get into the Zillow lawsuit. Let's jump into it. Come on, fellas. Let's put that on the screen so we can talk about it. Oh, I can't wait to get into the poll question. So, law firm targets Zillow in a new class action lawsuit. This has nothing to do with Zillow Zestimates because they've gotten themselves in trouble in the years past about the Zillow Zestimate. I saw somebody comment on that. So, this suit alleges that the portal tricks buyers into using a flex agent, which inflates commissions and calls it a private listing ban, a scheme to defraud buyers. The law firm that filed one of its original class action lawsuits. So this is a class action one. Lawsuits challenging the real estate commissions nationwide, and now targets Zillow. In a draft complaint, they shared it executively with the Real Estate News. The attorneys, who cares who the attorneys are? They allege that the home search giant inflated costs for home buyers through their Zillow Flex referral program, which charges agents up to 40% for the successful transaction. The suit claims that Zillow referral agents, which garnered more than $2 billion in revenue last year, illegally maintained a high inflexible commission. We believe Zillow is well aware of the potential ill-gotten gains in this space and has sought to play fast and loose with when people's basic need of housing is on the table. A company with its footprint is not too big to be held accountable, and we intend to support home buyers who have been harmed. Here's the trick. Zillow's ability to monetize and dominates the space and adds deceptive and illegal content. So let me just break this down into the simplest terms because there's a lot of words going on in this article. I think they just needed to make sure it filled up the space so they could get it out there. So when you go into Zillow, you can see, you see a house and you can see a little button that says contact agent, right? So a lot of buyers believe that whenever they hit contact agent, they're supposed to contact the listing agent. That's what they think. So a lot of buyers also feel like if you're going to be working directly with the listing agent, that you can negotiate the commissions down lower because that listing agent would be representing both sides. So they'll take less of a commission. That's the thought process for home buyers. So these home buyers, many of them, clicked that blue button thinking that they were working with the listing agent. And then when they go in to put in an offer, they find out later that now there's a buyer and a listing agent. Now they have two separate things. I feel like this. Whenever a agent that happens to represent Zillow or a flex agent hits that button and it's not the listing agent, they should be disclosing that right away. But it is deceptive by Zillow. This is something that's been ongoing way before this flex program was as part of the deal. Do you get a better commission rate because you work with both sides and you can negotiate that? Possibly. But the representation that you would get just working with a buyer's agent is going to be a lot better than working with a listing agent. Because I feel like this, and you can feel any way you want to. I will never represent both sides because either at some point somebody likes one side better than the other, and they don't represent both sides at the same time fairly. I don't care who the agent is, and agents will argue, I've always done it ethically and fairly. No commission to me is worth that. I would rather know that the people that I represent, I can get them the best deal for the most amount of money. If you were working with the buyers, that's what you're doing. But if you're representing both sides, because it doesn't make sense, in my opinion, you can't get the best deal for the buyers and get the best deal for the sellers. That you end up being Nancy neutral, and you didn't get the best deal for either side. You just ended up getting maybe a fair deal, maybe a legal deal, but it wasn't necessarily the best for either side. I don't like that. But go back to the lawsuit. Because that didn't happen, and there's a bunch of agents that haven't disclosed that they actually don't work for, or they don't work for the listing agent, and they're filling out these offer forms and showing these houses. Now the buyers are locked in to using that agent because they signed and said they would work for them at a certain commission rate, not knowing that they didn't represent the listing agent. I think that's the fault of the listing agent as well, but it is deceptive, in my opinion, of Zillow when you say find the agent, that it isn't that actual agent. one little trick to let you know, Eddie, just pull up Zillow. I don't care what listing, throw any Zillow listing. I'm going to show you if you actually do want to work with the listing agent, this is what you need to do. If you can put that on the screen. I know that you guys on TikTok won't be able to see this, but just listen to my instructions. Listen to my instructions. Any listing that you see on Zillow, it will have all the pictures and everything else, and it will have the details of the house. And under that, it will show the listing agent and the listing brokerage and the phone number of that brokerage. By law, in most states, they have to do that. Instead of clicking the blue button and you want to get a hold of that listing agent, look there. Eddie, are you able to pull up any listing on Zillow? I don't care what house. Just go ahead and pull it up. Maybe he got lost in the sauce.
I would love to. For some reason, it's stuck.
Okay, let me do this. I can do it from here. Forgive me for the
even when I try to click the link.
Okay. All right. I just pulled one up. All right, I'm going to do this. Sorry for this little delay here. All right, we're going to share the screen. All right. All right, you see, we got this listing over here. Oh, look, it's listed by the Whitney Group. You can see it right on the right-hand side. But you can also
There's
go
nothing showing up on the screen.
Oh, really?
There
Hold
it is.
on. Yeah. Maybe it's our internet. All right, you can see this listed by the Whitney Group, but this used to not be here, by the way. But if you look, it shows right at the bottom of the listing. So you all the way at the top, you see this. Then if you go scroll all the way down the bottom on all listings, it's required by law that they show exactly who owns this listing. You see it's listed by and the whole address and the phone number. So if you ever need to want to get a hold of the actual listing agent from a listing that you see on Zillow, don't hit the contact agent. Normally, I think she must be a Zillow agent, but just know, like, this is where you find that information. But they don't make that clear, and that's what the lawsuit is claiming. They just don't make it clear enough for people to understand. What do you guys think? Do you think this is going to stick? Do you think Zillow is going to get in trouble? I'd love to know. Eric the Blue says real estate agents represent both sides will inevitably present a conflict of interest for at least one party. I agree. Not all agents agree with me on this stance. There are plenty of agents out there that will represent both sides. I have done very few transactions in my career as a dual agent. One of them was a brother and sister, and the brother was buying the sister's house, and they begged me to do it. And the only way I would do it was if they were all on the same email thread the whole entire time. The second time that I ever did it was I had an elderly woman who was trying to sell her house very quickly, and she needed to get out, and she had a certain price that she wanted. And it just so happened that I had a buyer. And I said, you can put it on the market, or I can bring this buyer over. She goes, well, that's fine. Just bring the buyer over. Buyer fell in love with the house. And I asked both of them, what do you want to do? We could do this way where everybody's on the same page. And again, it was on the same email thread. She got exactly what she wanted as far as a price, and the buyers were willing to pay that price. But that's it. That's like only two transactions ever in my life that I've ever done that. And both the times I told them I didn't like it. I don't like it, not one bit. Feels icky. Charlton Zimmerman, let me put on my glasses here. He says, when I use Zillow on search platforms, I'm redirected to a platform search for seller that costs 95 cents. But first I have to not to use for bad motives. Okay, yes. So this is one of those things about whenever you list your home on any public website, you're putting yourself in a situation where people with more nefarious intentions can find your house. They can look up your house. They can find out details about your house, what you have inside your house. And that's like kind of the cost of advertising online. Now, almost every single MLS gives you the option to not list it online. Like on my MLS here in Louisiana, there's a box that we can check that says it will not be listed online. And even after you close on your house, let's say you're the buyer and you're going to buy a house, you don't want these photographs of the house or the inside rooms being posted. You can request that real estate agent remove all previous photos of the house except for the front of the house. But because I think most MLSs require that you at least have the picture of the front of the house, and they'll take them down. They will take them down. It's a lot easier than it had been in years past. Now, if you can't get a hold of that real estate agent, you can always call that real estate brokerage that listed the house and tell them to take those photographs down. So just know that that's an option for you if you are looking at homes. And don't use these websites for nefarious acts. That's another thing I want to throw out there. All right, Dan in the Dirt, great screen name, Dan in the Dirt. When we are ready to buy our first home, we will not be using a buyer's agent after our experience with the NAR Monopoly. So he's talking about the National Association of Realtors, that is NAR. By law here in Louisiana, if you are a member of the MLS, you have to be a member of NAR. So a lot of agents are licensed and are realtors because they have to, in order to use the MLS, be a member. So we're forced to be a realtor, and we have to sign these code of ethics, and they supposedly protect us and give us tools to help educate the public. That's what their stance is. They also lobby for real estate transactions commissions on our behalf. Many agents, if they were giving a choice by their MLS, would tell you they would love to walk away from the NAR association. And many associations across the United States, after the lawsuit settlement that came about, are choosing not to be have that as a requirement of their MLS, that you must be a member of NAR. I'm getting myself in hot water. A lot of real estate agents are very attracted to the NAR system, but many are not, and we're forced to be a part of it. So Catherine says, what's better than Zillow? As far as searching for homes, Zillow is no different than Trulia. That's no different than Realtor.com. They're pretty much all the same. You're just searching for houses that are on the open MLS. The difference is that when you are working with a real estate agent that's a member of the MLS, you get to see the houses that are not listed on the internet themselves. Remember when I told you that there's plenty of people that do not want their pictures on the open, wide internet publicly? They don't mind it being a part of the MLS. So a lot of listings in some areas, like I've been looking in homes all around Pennsylvania. And I noticed that because I'm on these real estate MLS drip mail campaigns, I'm seeing houses that were not on Zillow, that were not on Realtor.com. So wherever you decide to move, find somebody that can send you listings that come directly from the MLS. Also know that some brokerages have something, they don't call them pocket listings, but they're kind of like behind the scenes listings. And you can ask them to get you on that behind the scenes listings before they go out on the open market. Oh, Charlton says, question, doing that to ID who lives at a house, is that ethical or legal, even legal? So here's the thing about whenever you own a piece of real estate, it's all public record. Your name, your address, everything is public record. So you can't stop it. It's legal for anybody to search that up. Sometimes I can't find people's legal address when I'm sending them something and I can find it just by searching on court records here in Louisiana. We go on the sheriff's website to look up tax records. It's open. Anybody can do a property search. Now they make you sign right at the beginning, you're not using this for nefarious acts, and you have to hit the agree button. But I mean, how many people are going to hit that agree button and do whatever the hell they want? I mean, you know, D-Jack, welcome. It's so good to see you. Dan in the Dirt said Zillow is best used not signing in or creating an account. Yeah, I know, but how many times you try to like search on Zillow and they're like, create an account. You want to add this to your favorites list? Create an account. They will hound you to death until you create an account. But yes, I agree with you. I totally agree with you. Camping Sasquatch says everyone remembers what they did years back. The lack of transparency, in my opinion, is it to not be minimal or conflict of interest. A conflict of interest. Yes, I do not like. Some states will not allow for dual agency, and I don't like that. The other thing I don't like when it comes to Zillow, by the way, speaking of conflict of interest, is they put these Zestimates out. Now, there's been class action lawsuits against the Zestimate, but they clearly state on the website that it is not an accurate representation of the value of your home. It's just basically their guesstimate of what your house can be. I've had many people come to me and they say, my house is worth $389,000 and that's what I want to list it for. And I'm like, where are you getting this magic number? And they say, well, Zillow. And it's up to me as a professional to show them their exact worth for their house because I can pull the comps, the correct comps. Zillow works on a computer algorithm. And what they do is they take your house, right? And they just plop a pin on it. Then they draw a circle all the way around like a 5 to 10 mile radius. They find all the houses in that 5 to 10 mile radius that have sold in the last 6 months. And then all the houses that are listed currently. And that's how they come up with this magic number. It works fine in some areas that are very concentrated and that were built around the same time. But an area like mine, a rural area, it's really silly because once you go out of my neighborhood, you have manufactured homes, you have homes that were built in the 70s, then you have homes that were built in the 80s, then you have homes that were just built, last year. You have a mix of homes that are just one story. Then you have a mix of houses that are 2-story. They're not putting in the nuance of what happens to a house over the years, right? That house that was built in the 70s is not the same value as the house that was built, 10 years ago. What upgrades have you been doing to this house? They can't see the internal packaging of your house. Has the roof been replaced? Has the air conditioning been replaced? Is there a new hot water heater? All these things Zillow can't give you a good estimate on. And one woman actually tried to sue Zillow for those estimates a while back, stating the fact that she kept getting lowball offers because of the fact that Zillow Zestimate kept bringing her house value down another $50,000 like every other day. And so she sued them. I think it's still in the courts. I haven't heard anything. So Dan in the Dirt said buyer side lawsuits will be coming. Oh, why do you think that? Do you think it's because of the lack of transparency with them saying about the agents? I never thought that what they did was really fair. Back when I first moved here in Louisiana and I got my real estate license here, I didn't know anybody. So I did buy Zillow leads. And at that time, when people would call, they would meet me and they would be like, oh, how long have you had this listed? And I'm like, I'm not the listing agent. I said it right away. I'm not the listing agent. I'm a buyer's agent. I'm not a listing agent. I can show you this house. And do you want to continue? And of course, they always said yes. But I said it. I disclosed that. And they never put that on the Zillow website. And I think it makes people confused. So we'll see what happens with this. It's going to be interesting. Luciland said, hey, hey. Dan of the Dirt says you can't see the inside of the house if there's no open house. If you want to buy, how is that not monopolizing and predatory? Monopolistic and predatory. You can do whatever you want with your own house if you want to sell it. You don't have to put it on the internet in order to sell your house. They can, if you choose to sell your house, you can choose the way you want to sell your house. If you don't want it on the open internet, you don't have to. That's up to you as a seller, right? And if you want to see the inside of the house, all you have to do is make an appointment. And if you're getting an MLS listing, you make an appointment with an agent to view the inside of the house. You can even go into a house. You can request the listing agent to open the door and show you the house, telling them that you don't want them to represent you, but you're going in unrepresented. So you can be an unrepresented buyer that buys the house. You're not required to use a real estate agent, even though there's a sign out front. You can ask and request to see the inside of the house. You're going in as an unrepresented home buyer, and you're going to handle the whole transaction yourself, and you don't have to pay anybody. And the seller has to pay their commissions to the selling listing agent. You don't have to pay any of those commissions. Just, you can do that. Yep. Eddie, are you stuck again? Well, I guess not. Nancy, so good to see you, Nancy. Our realtor switched brokers during our closing. After our home closed, the listing with Matterport tours and photos remained active for months as our previous broker refused to release the listing control. Some agents, some real estate brokers, for some reason, have a very mine kind of like mentality. Technically, whenever I go and list a house, even though my name is on the sign, my brokerage actually owns the listing. If you look at your closing documents, it will say that the commission checks don't come to me. They go straight to my brokerage. So technically they were right, because when the house was listed, that brokerage had the Matterport, even though the agent paid for it, and the photographs. And again, even though the agent paid for it, it belongs to the brokerage, and they can do that. Now, if they get kind of pissy like that, you could always go to their local MLS and say, I have made several requests for them to remove the Matterport tour and the photographs, and that this brokerage is refusing to do so. Can you please remove them? And a lot of times that MLS will contact that broker and tell them that they have to remove those pictures because there is a formal request. Yep. Oh, Clark, the realtor, is in the house. Welcome, Clark. Anybody on TikTok, if you are wanting to ask a question, you're more than welcome to. We can't put it on the screen, but Eddie will tell me what you asked in the chat. So just let me know. Just let me know. Nellie says, hello, question. Will you be looking for a modular duplex? Didn't know they existed. That's so funny that you say that, because I'm having a hard time finding what I actually need, because I'm technically trying to find a home for my parents as well as myself. The ideal situation, it would be 2 houses, one on each lot, and we're right next door to each other. The other ideal situation is what you're talking about here, is a modular duplex. So now I'm kind of looking at the idea of buying a lot and putting a duplex on a modular one, because it would be done much quicker. They're very common in Pennsylvania. I can find a good modular home builder in that area. I might even contact one of my favorite modular home companies, that is Westchester Modular. DJ says, Sunday in New York City, too many helicopters for the UN meeting, noisy as you know what. You know what? Born Joker says, a rich guy told me once he would never own a home. Now I know why. What's funny about that is that a lot of rich people tell people to never own a home, but those same rich people own a lot of other people's homes and they rent them out. One of Eddie and I's good friends, his very first house, he never lived in it. He rented it out, and him and his wife at the time they were living in a super teeny tiny apartment above a restaurant, right? Or was it a drugstore? Something like that. They lived in a teeny rat infested apartment while he owned a house that he was renting out. And then he was like, yeah, but I'm making money doing that. And then he took that money from that house, and then they bought another house, and then he rented it out. And then he bought it, took the money from that and bought another one. And that's his whole job. That is his entire career, is he buys houses and he's a very wealthy man. He buys houses and he rents them out. And he actually ends up now, because of the money that he made from doing that, he lives in a very nice house on the hill in a very nice part of Baton Rouge. So take that with what you want, do what you want. Even Warren Buffett owns a house. It's a simple house. It's not a mansion. It's a very simple home. I think he's living in the exact home that he bought way over 30 years ago, and it's been paid off for years. Just saying. Camp in Sasquatch. Oh, where did that go? Camp in Sasquatch says, my phone keyboard was not my friend right then. That's all right. I can barely read half the time, so it's fine. TJack says, hi, Kristina and hubby and the mods and the audience. Yay! Trap says, the market determines the price. Thank you. All right, point. I want to give you a point. Okay, I saw TikTok the other day. I almost start off every conversation this way. I saw a TikTok, and the comment section was talking about how these people were saying that all real estate agents undervalue the houses, and that, like, I could get so much more for my house because real estate agents are so terrible, right? But I remember not too long ago, during the pandemic, everybody said, real estate agents are the worst. They're overpricing all these houses. The reason why the home prices are so high is because of real estate agents. And just like this comment just said, there is not a thing a real estate agent can do to make home prices elevate for the whole entire country. The market dictates the price, period, end. If the house is overvalued, it will sit on the market and nobody will buy it. If the house is undervalued, it will be sold extremely fast. But the market is what determines that. As many times as real estate agents, they're not magicians. They can't force anybody to buy anything. I believe that the housing market is too expensive. And I know many of you feel like that. It's too expensive. But us as real estate agents can't price a house under market value because we feel that way. The comps in the market determine what we price housing at. And I know, like, everybody loves to throw a real estate agent under the bus. And don't get me wrong, there's a good portion of them out there that are little dingleberries, and I have a license. I can tell you this. There are some doozies that I've worked with over the years, but we can't make a buyer buy it if it's too expensive, and we can't make a seller sell it. The market determines the price, period. I hope that makes sense. I hope that makes sense. Zillow equals AI. Yes, there is a lot of AI. All right. It's a little minus. This is the screen name. It's just a little minus. It says, people like that who want to sell their home constantly at these ridiculously high prices, they didn't pay anywhere near that. Part of the problem, just to be fair, is greed. Really is the root of all evil. I agree with the greed part, but I also agree with the market determines the price. So a lot of these sellers during the summer were extremely unrealistic, thinking that it's the same housing market that it had been a couple years ago. And even though the comps and the pricing, I'm going to tell you exactly what happened in my neighborhood. The comps and the pricing say that they should be priced here. They were shooting for the moon. And then what do you know? We got a house that's like 2 streets over. It was overpriced. They had their house, what was that, like $410,000, wasn't it? And the comps in the neighborhood, if they had
talking about the one on the other street?
Yes. Yeah, they had it listed at $410,000. Then they went with another agent, and then that agent put it at $420,000. I'm like, are these people just totally deluded? And then they finally come down to $389. Still too high, by the way. 380 is probably where they should have been at the beginning of the summer. Now they're into the fall, which is the worst time of the year to sell your house here in Louisiana. Like after October 31st, you can pretty much forget about it, right? So now the well of buyers has pretty much dried up. Now they're at 374. if they find a buyer now, kudos to them, but they were way overpriced. And now people have seen that house has been on the market for 170 days. And it makes people automatically say, what's wrong with that house? Why didn't it sell? What's wrong with it? They already have that in their brain that there's something wrong with the house. And I don't know. If it was me, I'd pull it off the market, but I'm not their agent. I would tell them to pull off the market. I would tell them to do a nice video tour. I would tell them to price it about $370. That's what I tell them. Catherine says, I had a realtor come here and say she says she has a private potential buyer who wants to live in my area, but she wants me to sign a waiver saying she will get a full 6%. Everything's negotiable. Everything's negotiable. If she wants, you can tell her, look, I'll take your buyer. I will take the full, everything you offer, but the commission. And you can tell them exactly how much you're willing to offer for the commission if she's going to represent both sides. Camp in Sasquatch says, I just want a little bit of land and a little house. I'm a little gal. I just want to garden and not hear my neighbor's music. That's the dream, isn't it? Isn't that the dream? Eddie and I's like big dream is we just want like a good couple acres, a couple and like 3 tiny homes, and then have a bunch of cats and maybe a Highland cow and a pig and some goats. And just be left alone. That's the dream. I would still be talking to you all the time, though. You guys would still be part of this real estate channel. That's for sure. You guys would still be with me. Dan in the Dirt said, I had an agent willing to commit mortgage fraud, saying he knew all the appraisers and get anything to pass appraisal and inspection. Oh, you should have turned that son of a gun right in. Years ago, I had a home inspector who had inspected a listing of mine, and he gave a listing report, inspection report to the buyer, to the sellers, and said that, like these were the things wrong with the house. Sure enough, the house goes under contract again. And this new buyer comes in. They stayed in the house for a total of 5 minutes and they walk out. And I thought, well, that's really strange. And I said to them, do you mind sharing your inspection report? Because they've done a lot of repairs to this house. And I want to see what the inspector found wrong with the house. And sure enough, they sent me the original inspection report that had been done over a month ago. By law here in the state of Louisiana, you cannot do that. You cannot sell somebody the same exact home inspection that you did over a month ago. Anything can happen to a house the minute you walk out the door. And here, again, by law, as soon as you walk out of the door and there's another buyer, you have to do that inspection all over again. Because like I said, anything can happen. A leak can happen. A bird can smack into a window, anything. So I actually had to take him to like a disciplinary action thing. Oh, he was hot mad. And I called him. I'm like, you can't do that. He was like, well, the whole reason she canceled it was because she had a 25-pound turtle that wouldn't like the backyard. And I'm like, yeah, but you sold her. By the way, he made her pay for an old inspection too. I'm like, you sold this poor girl an inspection that you did over a month ago. I can do that. That's legal. No, you can't. No, you can't. So he got a little fine. And he actually had a lawyer, and he was like, this lawyer was like, I contest. They're like, this is not a court case. I was so embarrassed. I was like about to cry. It was so embarrassing. Anyway, Trotten Zitterman says, I don't use AI at all. Do people know using that will take jobs? My kids are really against AI. My children they're 19 and 22, and they really, really will do anything not to use AI. They're very concerned of what is happening with AI. Anybody that's gotten an electric bill in the last month, I guarantee it's a hell of a lot more than it was last year at the same time, using the same amount of electricity. All of us that have an electric bill are subsidizing these AI centers, like these data centers, AI data centers, and we're subsidizing them through our energy bills. here in Louisiana, we got schmacked with it. And it wasn't a choice. We never even got to vote on it. It was just something that was, handshake deals with some governors, and then it was thrown on to us through Entergy. It uses fresh water. It uses a ton of electricity. And in the meantime, all of us are paying for it. So maybe it's something to consider if you're worried about using AI. Maybe you should think about that when you're doing those little searches on there. Anyways, Dan in the Dirt says, I would obviously wouldn't go tour a home till I have everything ready to buy. I wouldn't want to waste anyone's time. That would be so wrong. You would be surprised, Dan, how many people will waste your time to go look at houses. Victor.
Super chat.
Thank you. Victor says, the market for credit determines the price. Yeah. Well, like we saw, I don't know if you guys saw this. So you know how like interest rates were going down for a hot minute, then the Fed cut the rate. And then would you know what happened right after the Fed cut the rate? Mortgage interest rates went up, which is very common, by the way. Very common. So don't, just because the Fed cut the rate, that doesn't mean that the mortgage interest rates will go down. Just be aware. Victor, thank you so much for the $2 super chat. I appreciate you very, very much. I had to take a little sippy sip. Eddie, let's right after Camp and Sasquatch asks their questions, let's go ahead and go to the other story that we have, the other lawsuit. You guys are going to like this one. Camp and Sasquatch says, I wonder if you will see any changes to the USDA loans since they're also for rural properties. I think due to city congestion, it makes sense for them to try to entice buyers to move countryside. The USDA loan, or sometimes they're called rural development loans, that has always been an option. And actually, if you're a first-time home buyer, they're a really good option. And you would be totally shocked how many homes are considered in that rural development area. Because like some of the areas, I'm like, this is just right outside of Baton Rouge. This is considered rural development. Yep, sure is. I'm like, wow, shocking. So if you're a first-time home buyer, look to find out if that area is considered or would be considered for a rural development loan. It is a good option because you can finance up to 100, and I think it's 105%. Throw those closing costs in there. Oh, by the way, so don't quote me on that rural development thing, but you can quote Kyle Seagraves. He's coming, by the way, on October 5th. He's coming right here on this show. So you can save all your mortgage questions for October 5th with Kyle Seagraves. He's on YouTube as Win the House You Love. So Lawnmower says the value of the house is what someone will pay and to buy it. I concur. That is true. And some of these, and I will say, some of these home sellers this past summer, they need a bit of a reality check. They were going crazy. Oh, okay. Scroll down. All right. So this is another lawsuit I guys wanted to talk to you about. It says residents sue over 126% lot rate hike at a 55 plus manufactured home community. So you remember what I told you a while back is private equity has been buying up mobile home parks, and they have been doing this now for, I don't know, at least 20 years, right? They started doing this prior to the last housing crash, but they found out after the housing crash how incredibly lucrative it is, mostly because there's so little regulations. So they can technically do whatever they want. So, and this is in Pasco County. Residents of a 55 plus manufactured home community are taking the property owner to court after significant lot rent increase. According to a lawsuit, some residents' lots were increased 126% in just 1 year. Gail Holder, moved to the Highland at Scotland's Yards in Dade City in 2017. She was paying more than $600 a month in rent. In January, her lot rent jumped up to $1,300. And she says, if I'm lucky, I will have enough money for groceries and from one paycheck to another. And this is so common. Here's the thing. When you live in a manufactured home park or a mobile home park or a trailer park or whatever you want to call it, You are just renting the land underneath it. Most of the people that own these manufactured home parks are mom and pops, and they know a specific amount of money they want to earn during that time. It's usually meant to supplement their own income or their retirement, and they're not looking to, cash in. Then all of a sudden, a big private equity firm comes in and they will buy these parks and offer this mom and pop an exorbitant amount of money, more money than they ever thought it was worth. And they can't help themselves. They're going to take this money. They're beyond wanting to take care of the community that they lived in. The private equity firms takes it over and says to the residents, you're going to see a small increase in your lot rents because we're going to improve the park. So a lot of residents, they have no choice because their home is either paid for or they still have a mortgage on it. It's very expensive to move their mobile home to another park. So they're like, okay, all right, well, a little bit more is fine. Then 2 months later, they're like, we're going to put a community pool in and your lot rents are going to go up even more. Residents are like, we don't want a community pool. Doesn't matter. Private equity does. So then your lot rents go up even more. Oh, that garbage pickup that was part of your lot rent, that's no longer going to happen. You're going to have to go ahead and get another garbage company and you're going to have to pay that out of your own pocket. So something that was now included is no longer included. Oh, the water that was included with your lot rent, that's no longer included. And you're going to have meters. So now they're just keep piling it on and piling it on, piling it on. There's two things that they're trying to accomplish with this. One of the things that they're trying to accomplish is either A, they're trying to force them out without kicking them out, without evicting them. So the way that they can do this is keep increasing these lot rents to the point where they're so unaffordable that the people just walk away from their home. And so the intent is that they're going to like scrape the land and put up condos, townhomes, apartment complexes, something like that. So they keep doing this. And again, there's no laws in most states to protect people that are renting in a mobile home park. The second thing they're either trying to do is they keep increasing these rents. They keep the people out. The people can't afford to move. So now there is a free mobile home that's sitting on this lot. And what they do is now it's in a foreclosure process. They come in, they buy it through this sale or foreclosure sale for like a couple $100. They fix the whole thing out and then they rent everything. So now they got themselves a free house and they can increase the rent even higher because it's more than the lot. You're renting the mobile home and the land. So now they got a free house. They're getting more in lot rent. And now, I mean, it's gross. There are no laws to protect people that are renting land, period. It's the amount of laws that are on the books isn't enough to protect people that are renting land. It's not the same as like renting an apartment. You have renters' rights. But when you're renting a piece of dirt, very few states have any renters' rights. Delaware is probably one of the only ones that I know of. There's a few others, but the renters' land rights are very limited. This has been addressed many, many times, and it targets low-income earners and fixed-income earners the most. And because that is on the priority list when it comes to legislation in most states, it gets ignored because private equity has taken over a lot. And if you go back, you can look, I think it was John Oliver. He talked about this almost 20 years ago. And so it's a known problem. It's been a known problem. And politicians don't want to address it because who pays for their campaigns? Private equity. So good luck to them. I hope they win their lawsuit. I would love for them to win. Kenner says, as George Carlin said, it's called American Dream because you have to be asleep to believe it. Yeah. Back in a long time ago, I quoted I quoted George Carlin, and I got a lot of flack from people who are like, how can you quote it? Such a disgusting, despicable man who uses all those swear words. And I'm like, Oh, lady, if you knew me, I cuss like a sailor. I just don't on the show because I don't want to get in trouble. So, yeah, yeah. Lawnmower says our electric rates are supposed to be dependent on the cost to produce electricity, municipal only. Yes, utility. It went up 20% in 3 years. Natural gas went down 50%. Electric rates are the same. Here in Louisiana, I don't know what the percentage is, but for the same amount of electricity that we were using a month prior, our electricity bill was $100 more. $100 more. It's like do they not think we're going to notice? And it's 100% because of the new data center that went in, and it was spread across the state. And it's only one energy company that's doing this. Demco's not doing it. It's Entergy. Entergy is the one that's doing it. And it's not like we get a choice. That's another thing that I hate, right? If your utility company sucks, right? It's really truly a monopoly, right? And they'll say, oh, they'll argue with you and they'll say, no, it's not. No, it's not. We have to meet federal standards and, we can't raise your rates. Yes, you can. You can do whatever you want. And we have no choice. We don't get a choice in the water companies we get. We don't have a choice of the electric companies that we get. And we have to pay their fees. There should be, if this is such a free market country, then we should have the ability to use the free market to have other utility companies to service our homes. I mean, just saying. I mean, they're trying to privatize water as it is, and to let private equity take over water companies and utility companies, again, that they monopolize it. So if your water company gets taken over by some private equity firm, they can change how much you pay whenever they want because they're the utilities for the area. And it's not like you can go anywhere else. You have no choice but to pay it. I do not like this. I do not like this. Nancy says, what happened to Nancy? I didn't get to read Nancy's comment. Yes, Kyle's coming on the show. Yay. Yep. Where did Nancy's comment go? Eddie, are metal dimension shingles considered a specialty item, or are they very common? Eddie, that is your question from Lawnmower.
I've never heard of metal dimensional shingles, but yeah.
Yeah, it would be a specialty item. All right, I want to talk to you guys about this. Eddie, I want to just share that story of the real estate agents. Chris Cree says electric bills have gotten ridiculously high recently. Yep. Using less electricity than before, but that doesn't seem to make a difference. So I saw the news story, and the lady turned off all of the breakers in her house except for her bedroom. And she put a little tiny refrigerator in there because it was just herself. So she was doing an experiment, and her bill only went down $30. Now she has a 1,500 square foot house. How did it only go down $30? Something smells fishy. Just saying. Just saying. All right. So when real estate agents get in trouble, not all the times you have to sue them to get any kind of resolution to your problem. Sometimes you can go in front of their real estate MLS board or their brokerage or whatever, and disciplinary action can be taken against them and be recorded on their license. There are many states that do this. Tennessee happens to be one of them. I just recently found one from Tennessee because I was interesting. And I'm going to go ahead. We're not going to read all 6 of these. It was just the first story that really caught my attention. So can we go down? I think her last name was Cook. You could scroll down, my love. Thank you, Eddie. All right. Erica Cook. All right. Disciplinary action of $1,000. So this is what she did. The buyer's agent in the real estate transaction, which Cook was the seller's agent, alleged that Cook was unhappy with an offer conveyed by the buyer's agent. So Cook goes to social media with her displeasure of the buyer's agent. Although Cook did not include the buyer's agent's name or in the post, it did include a screenshot of the offers and the special stipulations that the buyer would pay a portion of the buyer's agent commissions. Comments on the post with which Cook agreed and emphasized interactions with the commenters, described the buyer's agent and the buyer's offer as offensive, disgusting, money-hungry, cheap people. The buyer's agent alleged that the post was unprofessional, disclosed confidential information, and threatened both the buyer and the seller's ability to complete the sale. Cook apologized for the post, acknowledged it was a poor decision, and stated she was embarrassed by her actions. Here's the thing. I'm going to tell you right now. Your real estate agent should never, ever, ever be discussing anything about any real estate transactions, period, end. I'll tell you what got her in trouble was the fact that she screenshot certain aspects of that agreement. So now you're letting other buyers potentially that could come in knowing what your seller will not accept. The second thing that she did wrong was disparage the other agent. You can't do that. When you are a realtor, you cannot disparage another real estate agent. And she should never, ever, ever say an offer is offensive. I have gotten lowball offers. I've gotten terrible offers. It doesn't matter. It's still numbers and words on paper, and it must be presented to the seller, period, end. It's all just business. And nobody should be offended or their feelings hurt or think that there's some greed behind it. Somebody's trying to get a deal, and all you have to do is respond. You even no response is a response. You can reject any offer you want, but no real estate agent should be going to social media and discussing the aspects of any real estate transaction, because it puts your sellers at risk. It puts home buyers in a position now they know what your seller doesn't want. Don't let your real estate agent do this if this is something that's happened to your area. I can't say this would be the same disciplinary action that would be taken in your area. Every state handles this completely different. We also have there's different rules. So if this has happened to you, just contact that local MLS and see what the next steps of the action should be. You can also contact your local area's real estate commissions. If you've had a transaction where the real estate agent has disclosed either your name or commissions or your offer and was talking about the other agent in a disparaging way or yourself in a disparaging way, no real estate agent should be discussing it. You should be protected. And if you're not being, get them in trouble. Like I said, not all real estate agents are bad, but there are some, there are some good apples out there, but there are some bad ones too. Violet says, "Hi there, Kristina, Eddie, and fam. Question: any thoughts on Redfin? I like their environmental project section for listed homes. I don't have a negative on Redfin as far as the website is concerned. I think it's a utility just like Zillow or any of the others. I think the CEO of Redfin is probably the funniest dude ever. He has the most off the wall comments when it comes to the housing market. If you ever want to listen to somebody talk about the housing market, he's a comedy show, honestly. Yeah, I have no problems with that company. Back at one time they had like a Redfin agent, and that was not very successful. I think they lost money on that. I'm not sure they're still doing it. It was like a flat fee real estate agent. They were paying them. They were paying the real estate agents like a monthly salary, and they would not earn commissions, and it didn't quite work out. I know it didn't work out here. So, because you know how that works. Muddy Steaker 77 says, World Central Planners decades ago contemplated living standards. They found that the declining the American lifestyle was easier, that raising the living standards versus the rest of the world. They found that declining the American lifestyle was easier than raising the living standards versus the rest of the world. That I would love to look at that. That'd be interesting. I know that from what I've seen and traveled around the country, you would be surprised how other countries handle so many different things: utilities, groceries, the design of a city, the way, like how we do neighborhoods is not how they do neighborhoods in other countries. It's very eye-opening. Sometimes we're not the best at doing things. Just saying. Targeted Plant Sky says, sadly, I only use Zillow to set rent. Yeah, you know what? You can use you can use a real estate agent to find out what the comps are in the area for rent, but you can use Zillow. There's a bunch of different websites you can use to comp out rent to figure out how much you're going to rent your house for. You don't have to just solely use Zillow, but if that's what you want to use, I have at it. I mean, I don't care. Yeah. So Zillow has I think it has its place in the market. I do think it's a good place to advertise listings. I do think it helps to get your home, if you're trying to sell it, sold faster. The way that they earn their money, though, especially off the backs of real estate agents that have worked so hard, I think is kind of sucks. Maggie Smith says, I haven't watched TV in over 25 years, but still too much time on the internet. Me too. Me too. Chris Cree says, everyone is saying their electric bills are extra high. Yeah, mine is extra high. And I'm like, the thing I know for a fact is that we have our house temperature regulated. We know exactly what temperature it's going to be in the morning, afternoon, in the evening. We do this. We've had it set like this for over 5 years. We know exactly how cold it's going to be in the house. So for it to go up over $100 more than it was the month previous made absolutely no sense. And then, like, when we pulled out the two bills, the usage was exactly the same. We're getting bamboozled. P2815DO1 says, Zillow sure provides a realtor with the worth of said agent is usually not much more than the door opener. That says marry the house and date the rate. Usually less than 2 years of experience. You know what? I know lots of agents around here that pay for leads, and they're top agents. They're top agents. But that whole meme that real estate agents and lenders, by the way, that were saying that, I want to know how many people are. You know what? I think, speaking of a class action lawsuit, any agent or lender 3 years ago told people to date the rate and marry the house, and now you're in a situation that you can't refinance because rates never went down low enough, and now you're stuck with a payment because insurance is raised and the taxes are raised, but you were convinced because that's what they sold you. Those are the people that should do a class action lawsuit. I don't ever do that. Don't ever put yourself in a financial bind because somebody simplified the most expensive decision that most people make in their lives with a simple meme. It's just not, it should never have been that way. I hate it when people said that, date the rate, marry the house, date the rate. Stop it. Lawnmower says, I gave up on TV, especially cable, when almost all the channels went to reality TV format. I gave up TV probably in 2016. Now I still have HBO, what is it? HBO Max. I have Amazon Prime. I have that, and Apple TV. But those are the three I watch. That's it. I don't watch anything else. There isn't much out there, and I watch a lot of YouTube. I love documentaries, and there's some great documentaries on YouTube. There's so much information you can get on YouTube, and the monthly fee for no commercials on YouTube is minuscule in comparison to cable television. So That's what I do. Mark H's question: insurance companies seem to hike prices or refuse new insurance for manufactured homes. Why? Is this? Well, it depends on, like, not all homeowners insurance companies will even cover manufactured homes because that's not their specialty. They consider them to be a risk. But there are plenty of companies that will do that. Now, they do set a limit or how much they will cover when it comes to like an older manufactured home. But the newer the manufactured home, the more they're going to cover. So, just you're going to have to shop around. But I could be wrong about this. Don't quote me on this, but I don't think like State Farm will do homeowners insurance on manufactured mobile homes. Yep. Our little dash says, upstate New York, we have IBM and other data centers. I lived in an 800 square foot, small, and my electric bill was nearly $300. Not to mention the car insurance is over $480. With a great record, it's out of control. Yes, it is out of control. Our electric bills are entirely too high. Our water bills are going up. Our natural gas bills are going up. Our homeowners insurance is going up. Let's see what else is going up. Our medical insurance is going up. Our food is going up. Our like everything is so drastically expensive than it was in like 2018, 5 years ago. The pandemic had killed us. And then I think companies I really think that companies learned that they could squeeze as much as they can out of us. And they just keep doing it and doing it. Because no one's stopping them. No, the people that are supposed to watch out for us to make sure that these things don't happen, they don't get out of control, they're letting it happen. I remember years ago, like I'm sure you remember this in high school, one of the test questions was like, no company can be a monopoly. And every time I turn around, we're becoming more and more monopolized. It reminds me of that movie WALL-E. I can't remember the company, but they owned everything in the end. And in my brain, that's what Blackstone and BlackRock are. By the way, they are two different companies, but they're sister. They were forced to split because they're a monopoly. They were turning into a monopoly according to the federal government, but they're still the same company. They're sister companies. They know exactly what they're doing. One handles real estate. The other one handles other things like REITs. Like they know exactly what they're doing. And every time a company goes public, the next thing I know is that Blackstone or BlackRock is right behind them, making them an offer to take it over. And as soon as they take it over, what do? They either bankrupted that company or they make the product worse. Like I don't know how many restaurants they took over. And as soon as they took it over, the food quality went down the toilet. Anyway, I feel like they're the monopoly. I think we should, if we fought against them, if we forced the hand on that specific company, maybe things could get better because they're running amok, man. That's what I feel like our government is, Blackstone and BlackRock. Going against the grain says, you know what area you're referring to? We raised there decades ago. Are you talking about for myself? Eric the Blue says, Kristina, 100% agree with you about YouTube. $16 a month, free premium service to ditch the commercials, a steal for a content available. Yeah, there you can find anything out. There's not a thing that you can't learn from a YouTube video. We're taking apart a washing machine right now because our the springs are bad. You can find that out on YouTube. And if you can't find it there, you can find it on TikTok. There's a video out there for it. I love YouTube. It's a great platform. Like it used to be that, people only posted cat videos. I don't know if you guys know this, but it used to be a dating site YouTube did. And then it turned into the place that people share their cat videos. And now, it's come a long way. You want to learn how to fry an egg in a stainless steel pan, you can find that on YouTube. You want to fix your refrigerator without hiring an electrician, you can find that on YouTube. There is not a thing that you can do you can't learn from YouTube. I love it. It's fantastic. Oh, I'm glad I'm promoting the company that feeds me. So, all right, Violet says portable solar systems have been have sales for less than $2,000, $5,000, including solar panels and all-in-one power stations with wattage to home power homes. So she's talking about solar power systems. Yes, I'm gonna make a warning about this. Okay, what she's saying is correct, but if anybody comes to your door and tells you, "Hey, I work for the solar company. We're making an offer right now because I don't know if you heard, but there is some free money out there, so you can get solar panels in your house, and we have the equipment here. And by the time you fill out all the stuff to get the money back, you're basically getting these solar panels for free." There is no money from the state or federal program that is going to pay for those that solar panel system. It is 1,000% a scam. At one time, there was a bank of money that people could have gotten some money back from their state to pay for these solar panels. That has long been dried up for many, many years, but it's like a bait and switch that they do. They're slick, man. And they should be in trouble because they really go after the elderly that are income restricted, telling them that they'll have free electricity. And then all of a sudden these bills start coming in the mail. And when those bills come in the mail, they're really high. And then if you try to sell your house with those solar panels on there, that's usually rented equipment, and you're asking the buyer to take on another debt other than the house. That is not included with the sale, and the sellers do not have to buy your solar panel mistake. So if you're going to do it yourself and hire an electrician to put it in for you. Do not go with a specific solar panel company, because a lot of them, a good portion of them, not all, but a good portion of them are giant scam artists. I just want to throw that out there. The real unemployment rate is 7 or 8%. Underemployment is at 25%. Inflation is around 20 to 25%. Fed knows that the unemployment rate has to go up to bring inflation down. This is why they keep cutting the rates, right? But all of that does is that it incentivizes very rich people to use more debt for money. They're not going to hire more people. I've seen more and more job layoffs every single day. And I really feel sorry for, people that are under the age of 30, because those are the people that have the most underemployment in the United States. Those people that are getting those entry-level jobs are no longer in existence. And let's just be honest, those job rate numbers have not been realistic for decades. They've changed how they calculate underemployed or non-employed people in the United States for a very long time, so it didn't look as bad. They've always done this. And they, once you're off unemployment, they just take you off the records altogether. They're just like, oh, they don't exist anymore. And they'll say that those people are unwilling to work, even though they couldn't find a job within that 6-month period of time that they were on unemployment. They list them as not wanting to work, which isn't the case. Don't get me started. I hate how they calculate it. They should never have done it that way. But I don't make the rules. I don't make the rules. Mark H says, question, insurance companies seem to hike prices or refuse new insurance for manufactured homes. Why? Eddie, I already answered that question. Where'd you go? Eddie must have gone to the bathroom during that time. Remember, we had this whole discussion about that. Yeah. Well, anyways, with that, if you guys have any questions about your real estate needs, you can always go to my website, KristinaSmallhorn.com. That's a Kristina with a K, Kristina, Smallhorn, SMALLHORN.com. There I am. You can't see it if you're on TikTok, but that's my website. You'll know it's me because right on the front, there's a picture of me and my feet dangling in the air. I'm holding a stick. Just hold my camera. Again, if you have any real estate questions, hit on one of the pink buttons and I will be able to get contact with you via email or phone call. If you'd like to share this with your friends and family and share all the things that we learned and talked about today, I have this as saved as a podcast, and you can share it with anybody that you want to. Just go to anywhere you listen to your podcast. Kristina Smallhorn, Real Estate for Everyone. And today's episode will be listed tomorrow morning. Eddie does that first thing in the morning. I want to say a special thank you to all the moderators that have been on the chat. I want to say a special thank you to the people that are on Facebook, on TikTok, on YouTube that have been sharing this stream out. I appreciate all of you. And thank you for spending the last hour and 15 minutes with me. And next week, who knows what we're talking about? I'm sure we're going to have more unprecedented times, but I would love to share those unprecedented times with you next Sunday. All right, everybody. I love you. I mean it. Mwah, mwah, mwah. And don't forget, everybody deserves an affordable home. Bye.